So the next point I want to talk about is breathing, breath control, when to breathe, how not to breathe. It's a really important part of boxing. Shitty breathing mechanics can result in you fatiguing faster, being far too rigid when you punch, losing elastic properties through your rotation and your whip in your punch. But probably the main one is poor breathing will just fatigue you. Forgetting to breathe will gas you out. We need an oxygen supply, particularly when we are exercising, to feed the lungs, to feed the muscles, to feed our body. So how does breathing in boxing work? I strongly encourage I do strongly encourage every client to learn to nose breathe, right? And it's this sort of double-edged sword of boxing, right? You get your nose broken so many times, you can't breathe through your nose properly anymore, you start mouth breathing. But for the sake of good habits, let's just learn to keep our mouth closed when we box and breathe through the nose. I know that is a ridiculous thing to say, but let's learn to breathe through the nose. Now, when does breath happen? So let's say there's normal sequence happening between myself and my opponent. I'd be trying to be as calm as possible and breathe as normally as possible. At the point of executing a punch, there's pretty much a breath at the end of every punch. What do I mean by that? At the point of contact or full extension of my punch, I will exhale. So I'm here, I'm normal. Right? Nose breathe. Those breaths happen at the point of extension at all of my punches. It's a good habit to develop because it allows you to keep a consistent oxygen supply and it breaks the habit of holding your breath in flurries or combinations. So you can imagine if we're having moments where I'm moving around with my opponent, we're boxing, and I've premeditatedly told myself I'm going to throw a 3-piece or a 3-punch combo, and I don't breathe with any of those. Now I've got catch up to make on an oxygen supply, as opposed to I've had a pretty consistent flow of oxygen coming into my body, feeding my body, and minimizing how much I gas out. So breath mechanics, really, I want to see a breath at the end of every punch you throw, and temper those breaths. It doesn't have to be breathing so fucking hard that you're blowing boogers out your nose, right? No, they're sharp, succinct snaps of breath, breaths of air. And that return